lines just $30 each. Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. American negotiators meet with their Russian counterparts in Saudi Arabia. The two sides are aiming to put an end to Russia's 3-year invasion of Ukraine. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is optimistic, claiming Putin seeks peace. Yet Russian strikes overnight killed at least 7 in Ukraine. Ukraine's delegation met with Americans on Sunday. President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the discussions as constructive. Education Secretary Linda McMahon wants to spin her agency's responsibilities off to others. It is part of President Donald Trump's plans to dismantle the Department of Education. Trump signed an executive order directing McMahon to make those plans. She now intends to send student loans to the Small Business Administration and other duties to the Department of Health and Human Services. Half of the Education Department's staff has already been cut. Further cuts are expected in the coming days. And there are no perfect brackets remaining in the men's NCAA basketball tournament. The second round of March Madness busted millions of remaining brackets. Number 1 seed Duke defeated Baylor for its Sweet 16 spot. The Florida Gators ended UConn's chances at a 3rd straight title as the Gators mounted a comeback to beat back the Huskies. And that's your Spectrum News in 90.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your weather on the Ones forecast. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We start the week off with some comfortable conditions across the central U.S. with highs in the 60s in Kansas City, low 80s in Dallas, and along the Gulf Coast was where things are going to stay a bit active on this Monday. And across the Northeast, temperatures are going to stay cool with the chance for some snow showers as the storm system works its way into that part of the country. We'll talk about that in more detail coming up in 10 minutes.
Bree Driscoll, and thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. We're following developments out of Saudi Arabia, where American negotiators have been holding talks with their Russian counterparts on a pause in fighting in Ukraine. Despite the talks, Russia launched new strikes overnight at Ukraine. At least 7 were killed. The Kremlin says discussions today are mainly focused on reviving the Black Sea Grain Initiative. A Ukrainian lawmaker explained her concerns about the talks.
We do not trust Russia, and we have seen over the last days that after Ukraine has agreed to unconditional ceasefire, it was on March 11th, we have seen Russia's attacks on peaceful cities intensifying, killing at least 3 people on a Saturday night. So the question is, well, even if Russia says they are ready to do the ceasefire, how would you enforce it? And what would happen if they break their part of the deal?
Washington reporter Daniel Grimes joins me now with more. Daniel, how are these talks shaping up?
Well, Russia and Ukraine agreed last week to halt strikes on energy infrastructure, but now the two sides have to figure out how and when to start that partial truce. Now, they're also discussing the safety of ships in the Black Sea to enable trade in the area. Ukraine held talks with Trump administration officials on Sunday, with the Ukrainian defense minister posting on social media. The two sides discussed energy. Now, Ukraine has agreed to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire, but Russia has some demands before agreeing to any truce. Those demands include stopping foreign military aid and intelligence sharing, and for Ukraine to stop training their troops. Now, the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, who is also leading these talks between Russia and Ukraine, says President Donald Trump simply wants peace.
The agenda is stop the killing, stop the carnage. Let's end this thing. You can't end things without communicating with both sides, understanding what each of them need, and then trying to bring them together.
Now, the talks with Russia continue today, so we really have to just wait and see what happens and what developments come out of those meetings. Bree?
And Daniel, tensions in the Middle East are escalating once again after Israel launched airstrikes on several locations in Lebanon as its ground offensive in Gaza intensifies. What more can you tell us about a potential ceasefire in that conflict?
Yeah, so the Hamas-led Gaza Health Ministry said more than 50,000 Palestinians have been killed since that war started in October of 2023. Now, that includes 2 killed Sunday when an Israeli airstrike hit the largest hospital in southern Gaza. Egyptian officials are simply trying to get ceasefire talks back on track. Now, they proposed having Hamas release 5 living hostages in return for Israel allowing humanitarian aid. It's been paused for more than 3 weeks now into the Gaza Strip, and at least a week-long pause in fighting. Now, it would also see Israel release hundreds of prisoners. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday to emphasize U.S. support for Israel and release and efforts to help release those hostages. Bree?
Daniel, thank you very much. Police have made a 4th arrest in connection with a shooting that left 3 teenagers dead in New Mexico this weekend. 15 others were injured. As Spectrum's Jenna Enoch reports, one of those suspects is just 15 years old.
All 4 suspects have been charged with 3 counts of murder. Additional charges are pending this morning as this investigation is still very active. But it was a chaotic scene as people fled for safety. Take a listen. You can hear shots ring out and see crowds of people scatter in terror in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Investigators say a mass shooting took place at an unsanctioned car show in a park on Friday night. 3 people died and 15 others were injured after an altercation broke out at that park. Police say the car show had drawn about 200 people. The victims range from ages 16 to 36 years old. 2 19-year-old men and a 16-year-old boy were killed. Police say the shooting involved multiple shooters and multiple weapons between 2 groups whose ill will toward each other is what investigators believe led up to the shooting.
This horrendous, senseless act is a stark reminder of the blatant disregard people in New Mexico have for the rule of law and order. It's also a reminder of the utter lack of fear of accountability in New Mexico.
We need to stand strong. We need to come together. So please help us to heal and join me in my thoughts and prayers for the families and those lives that have been lost.
Around 50 to 60 shell casings, all from handguns, were found scattered across the large park. Some of the victims have been treated and released, while others remain in the hospital this morning. This investigation is still ongoing as police continue to sift through videos and tips from the public. Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Happening this morning, fired workers at the Department of Education are gathering their belongings from their Washington headquarters. Education Secretary Linda McMahon on Sunday defended the sweeping cuts to her agency in line with President Donald Trump's agenda.
The president was very clear. The outward-facing programs that are going to be affecting students there's not going to be any defunding for those programs. When he talked about student loans, that would be going to the Small Business Administration, and also then the programs for students with disabilities will more than likely rest in HHS, which, by the way, is where they began.
Trump last week signed an executive order to begin dismantling the department. A full closure would require congressional approval. This is what March Madness is all about. The second round has come and gone, taking away all perfect brackets. Number 1 seeded Duke topped Baylor, never letting up the pace. The Blue Devils put up a 12-0 run to end the first half. Their dominant performance led to an 89-66 final score. The Florida Gators putting up a fight of their own. The number 1 seed overcame a deficit against UConn, ending the Huskies' quest for a three-peat. Florida crept into the final minutes for the 77-75 win. Attention now turns to the Sweet 16. Those games are set to begin Thursday. Changes are coming to Social Security. Coming up here on Spectrum News, why critics warn an already backlogged system could be plagued by more troubles.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times, powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app.
I really am in the middle of nowhere. Every day is different. Chores, come on, homeschooling, and then I fit in the rug business. I just got a new batch of rugs that I'd love to show you. I have a website, and a lot of what I do is sharing my home life. Mommy's leaving. Reliable, high-speed internet is the foundation of our business. Spectrum was great. They went out of their way to make sure that I was okay and I was taken care of. Shoo! And that's the awesomeness of having Spectrum.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. And as we start the new work and school week off, though, we are going to be dealing with some active weather, especially across the southeastern portions of the United States and right along the Gulf Coast for that matter as well. That's going to be the highest risk for some severe thunderstorms today, although it is a relatively low-end threat. It is also the first full week of spring, and we are holding on to winter conditions across the northeastern United States as some snowfall works its way into New York and then eventually up into Maine just in time for that evening commute. So it is going to be quite unsettled later this evening, and we do have winter weather advisories in effect through the overnight hours as a result of that. But as we get into the next couple of hours or so, by lunchtime, we're going to see that snowfall working its way into New Hampshire and Vermont, and there is going to be a dividing line between the rain and snowfall. But places like Boston, all the way through New York, we're going to be seeing some cool and rain conditions across this part of the country, and this is going to be around for that evening commute as well. Moderate to heavy rainfall possible, but we're not expecting any flooding concerns or anything of that matter. But take a look at Maine. We are going to be dealing with this right around 5 o'clock, just in time for that evening commute. But thankfully, this wraps up overnight, and by the time we get towards Tuesday morning, should be dry and quiet across the northeastern United States. But with some lingering snow showers in the forecast for Tuesday, by the time we get into the middle of the week, we're going to see snowfall totals, especially in the higher elevations of Maine, getting up to around 6 to 8 inches as well. So we are not done with winter across the northern half of the country, but temperatures in the southern plains are going to be feeling like spring with highs in the upper 80s in San Antonio, mid 60s across Kansas City, still running above the average for this time of year. And that warm weather sticks around through the middle of this week across the country as well. Tuesday, we're back into the 70s in Kansas City, as well as the Raleigh area, upper 70s in Atlanta. And these temperatures are running about 10 to 20 plus degrees above the average for this time of year, especially in the central United States. And that trend is going to continue as we get towards the end of the week. But I did mention there is a threat for some severe thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. We're going to talk about the threats that we could see coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones.
And here's a look at what you need to know this morning. American and Russian officials are discussing a peace deal for Ukraine and Saudi Arabia today. President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, is optimistic to end Russia's 3-year invasion of its neighbor. Ukrainian officials met with American negotiators yesterday. Vladimir Zelensky calling the discussions constructive. Fired workers from the soon-to-be shuttered Department of Education are collecting their belongings today. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says other agencies will oversee student loans and programs for students with disabilities. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. South Korea's impeached prime minister has been reinstated as the nation's acting president. Han Duck-soo's impeachment was overturned by a court today. South Korea's parliament impeached Han after President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law last year. Yoon was later impeached and is awaiting trial. Experts say the ruling today for the prime minister is not an indication of how the court would rule on the president. Canadians will head to the polls in about 5 weeks. Prime Minister Mark Carney calling for an election on April 28th. The governing Liberals appeared poised for an election defeat this year until President Donald Trump declared a trade war. He has repeatedly said Canada should become the 51st U.S. state. Trump's attacks on Canada's sovereignty have angered Canadians and led to a surge in nationalism, which has bolstered Liberal poll numbers. Voters will choose between Carney or the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, who has been criticized for having ideologies similar to President Trump. Investors await data from the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge this week. The Personal Consumption Expenditure Report outlines what consumers pay for goods. Data from January showed a 2.5% increase from the year before, down 0.1 of a percentage point from December. The Federal Reserve held interest rates steady last week in the face of stubborn inflation. February's inflation report drops Friday morning. A federal judge is temporarily blocking DOGE from accessing Social Security systems, but new Social Security rules that will impact millions of seniors and those with disabilities are set to take effect in about a week. In-person visits are now required in many cases, and as Spectrum's Zarina Karazada reports, there are concerns recipients will not be able to get their benefits.
Access to Social Security is a lifeline that could be on the line for retired seniors like 79-year-old Mark Turner. He says his wife passed away last year, causing an emotional and financial toll.
Social Security is about 1/3 of my income, so it's important to me. And like I say, when my wife passed away, there went a good chunk of change that I would have had as far as income goes. So losing her Social Security, it does hurt.
Recently, President Donald Trump's administration and DOGE directed the Social Security Administration to reduce its workforce, close some buildings, and soon at the end of March, the agency will no longer accept verifications via phone for any benefit claims or direct deposit changes. Verifications will have to be made online via a My Social Security account or by visiting an office in person, according to SSA. Changes that the administration says will help cut down on fraud.
We're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
By tackling the waste and fraud in entitlements like Social Security, Medicare, can we actually preserve those programs for the future?
But Democratic critics say it's a slow cutback on getting people their checks.
And I think that what they're trying to do is to make it so dysfunctional that they can privatize it. Privatizing will be the death of Social Security, because what they will then try to do is to have everybody invest into a 401k. But not everybody is adept in investing, and the 401k returns are not necessarily the greatest.
Critics also fear the changes could make it harder for those living in rural areas or with disabilities. Mark says he wouldn't mind going in person for any verification updates if it means saving Social Security for the next generation.
I paid into it all the years I worked, but I can see that there's some issues there, and they need to, if nothing else, find out where the waste is going.
Swift changes leading to some uncertainty for the future of Social Security. Zarina Karazada, Spectrum News.
Mia Love, the nation's first black Republican congresswoman, has died. Love passed away yesterday after a long battle with brain cancer. Her death was announced by her family on X. Love was diagnosed with cancer in 2022 and originally only given it 10 to 15 months to live. Earlier this month, she revealed her cancer treatments had stopped working. She was 49 years old. Former Yankee star Brett Gardner and his wife are mourning the loss of their 14-year-old son, Miller, who died unexpectedly on Friday. According to the Gardners, Miller passed away after becoming sick along with other relatives while on vacation. No further details were provided on where or what may have happened. The Yankees are offering their unconditional support, saying they will miss the 14-year-old who, quote, had a spark in his eyes, an outgoing and feisty personality, and a warm and loving nature. Spring has sprung, and so have seasonal allergies. Just ahead, how one allergist is helping patients deal with severe allergies.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Starting a business is hard. You have to stay connected at all times.
As we've been growing the studio, Spectrum's been there every step of the way. I'm always able to make the phone call that I need. I'm able to shoot that text message or that email. Every vital piece of equipment that we have here uses Spectrum.
Fast, reliable internet, starting at $40 a month, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep your business connected.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. First week of spring, and we're dealing with some wintry weather in a few spots, especially across the northeastern part of the country. But it is going to be active, and the threat for some severe thunderstorms will be possible along the Gulf Coast as we get into the first half of the day today. But elsewhere, temperatures are expected to soar, and we're going to be well above the average in many communities as we head into the middle of this week. But over the last 24 hours or so, we have been seeing some wet weather and some heavy rainfall in a few spots from the Midwest all the way down through the Tennessee Valley, through Alabama, Mississippi, into northern Louisiana, picking up a little over 3 inches in some of those communities. That led to some minor flooding concerns throughout the day on our Sunday. And that heavy rainfall is going to continue to work its way across the Gulf Coast as we get towards lunchtime today. But take a look at some of the damaging wind reports that we've had across Alabama into portions of Mississippi, even a few isolated tornado reports. And the National Weather Service teams will be out to survey some of that damage from our Sunday, and even a few more damaging wind reports across Missouri as a result of that storm system as well. And it's going to continue to work its way eastward and going to lose a lot of that energy as it reaches the coast. But again, right along the Gulf Coast is going to be the best risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms to develop, with some heavy rainfall that could lead to some localized flooding and a few spots as we start things off on our Monday. So make sure you're taking it slow if you're heading out the door in those areas. But I mentioned the risk for severe thunderstorms is going to be low, level 1 on a scale 1 to 5, stretching from the Louisiana coast all the way through the Florida Panhandle into portions of southern Georgia as well. Damaging winds north of 50, 55 plus miles per hour will be the main concern with any severe weather that develops, but there is a low level threat for some tornadoes as well. So keep that in mind and make sure you have multiple ways of receiving severe weather alerts if you live in this part of the country. But by lunchtime, again, this is going to continue to work its way across Georgia, Alabama, even into parts of the Carolinas, but that severe weather threat is going to be pretty much wrapped up as we get into the early afternoon hours. And you'll notice by the time we get towards 3, 4 o'clock, we're going to be dealing with some clearing skies and drier conditions by the time we get towards our Tuesday morning commute. So this is going to be the one day that's going to be pretty active weather-wise across the lower 48. And as far as rainfall totals go, really not expecting a lot. We are going to see it, of course, across the Pacific Northwest with more rounds of heavy rainfall coming in from the Pacific, and then portions of the Ohio Valley, areas that could really use some rainfall. We'll be dealing with that, but we're looking at a mainly drier forecast with temperatures trending about 10 to 20 degrees above the average as we head into the second half of this week.
entering the first week of spring, and for many that usually means seasonal allergies. According to our weather experts, the pollen count is currently high and is only likely to get worse. Spectrum's Kennedy Chase spoke with an allergist who's helping those struggling with severe seasonal allergies.
So the testing is done on your back. So tree pollen is usually in like March, April, May, and then grass pollen starts in like May or June.
For the past 14 years, Dr. Sumit Shah has treated people who suffer from seasonal allergies.
About 1 in every 3 Americans actually has underlying allergies. So symptoms of like hay fever, itchy watery eyes, itchy nose, nasal congestion, cough.
But the allergist who works at Premier Allergy and Asthma in Dublin says there's another solution besides just taking over-the-counter medication.
Immunotherapy that we have.
You can take seasonal allergy shots as well.
Allergy shots are a way that you can take somebody who has really bad allergies and make them unallergic to the things that they're allergic to.
The traditional allergy shots process takes 3 to 5 years to complete. Patients come in once a week for 52 weeks and then once every 6 months.
These are all the grass pollen.
Cassidy Pennington is one of the patients that has gone through this process because her seasonal allergies were so bad.
I mean, I could not go outside. I couldn't sit by the pool. I couldn't have dinner outside on the patio because my allergies were so bad.
It took her 3 years to complete the allergy shots process, but she said the long process changed her life.
Now I can actually be outside and function normally. Thank goodness, because like I said, I feel like I could never enjoy spring and summer like I wanted to, just because stepping outside would be horrible.
3 to 5 years may sound like a long time for people, so Dr. Shaw is bringing a new type of allergy therapy to Central Ohio called iLit. It stands for intralymphatic immunotherapy, and it's 3 allergy shots over a 3-month period.
It's done in an inguinal lymph node and done under ultrasound guidance. So we use an ultrasound and we identify a lymph node, and we actually inject the allergen into the lymph node.
While Shaw says the 3-month shot is not FDA approved yet, but just as effective as the longer one, it's not covered by insurance and can cost considerably more. Still, Pennington says if it were an option when she got her shot, she would have considered it.
I definitely would have done it just for the convenience of 3 shots and your, allergen is basically taken care of.
And we have thousands of patients that we've been able to actually take who have miserable allergies, and now they're essentially symptom-free.
For Spectrum News, I'm Kennedy Chase.
Well, Tiger Woods is taking a shot with Vanessa Trump. The 15-time major champion confirms his relationship with Donald Trump Jr.'s ex-wife on social media yesterday, writing, quote, "Love is in the air and life is better with you by my side. We look forward to our journey through life together. At this time, we would appreciate privacy for all those close to our hearts." Woods and Vanessa Trump have been linked together for some time, but rumors gained traction after Tiger showed up to the Genesis Open with Vanessa's daughter, Kai Trump. The Trump and Woods children attend the same school in Palm Beach. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back. To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
to show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels, that's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.